So today we're talking about sponsorships on YouTube. How do they work? What constitutes a sponsorship and what doesn't? And maybe a little bit about the drama that's going on in the current climate in the camera YouTube space around sponsorships. And lastly, I do have a bit of a story about a sponsorship that I had to back out of because of some shady dealings. And I'll share a little bit of that drama with you later on in the video. So if you don't know me, my name's Thomas. I do run a channel here. This is mainly about camera gear and some tech stuff. And last week I released a video about the DJI Pocket 3 and I compared it to the Sony ZV-E10. And in that video I did state that DJI reached out and they offered to send me this little camera. And they said, hey, we'd love to send it to you. And if you could, we'd love it if you'd compare it to the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. And in that video, within about 10 minutes of it being posted, I got a comment that said something along the lines of, DJI sent you the product, they asked you to review it and compare it to another camera. How is this not sponsored? So I figured I'd just share a little bit about how sponsorships and also how gear reviews work whenever companies offer to send you the product. We're going to talk about the drama later, but we're going to split up this video into a few different segments. First off, let's talk about product reviews. Just product reviews, okay? So what happens oftentimes as you grow your channel is eventually companies are going to start reaching out and offering to send you products. And obviously, they hope that you're going to say yes and that you'll review it favorably. That is what they want. Now, you don't have to do that. If they don't ask for a sponsorship or a contract or any form of payment, all that is expected is that you review the product. Now, typically for me and my personal practice here on this channel is if a company reaches out and says, hey, we want to send you this product, in return for a review, would you like to receive it? I have a response typically that I'll send which says something to the effect of, yes, I'll happily check out the product, and if I like it, I will recommend it to my viewers. Putting in that clause there of if, because sometimes I'll get sent products and I'll test them and I'll be like, I actually just don't like this. Doesn't fit into my use case and I don't think I recommend this to my viewers. Now, I could then make a video anyway and bash the product, but I don't think that that's actually helpful because it might just be that it doesn't work for me and it might be good for some of you guys. So in return, I just decide not to make the video. And that does mean I have at least 4 or 5 products just from this year that I have not made a review on. Now, on the flip side of that, that does mean that if I do like the product, I will make a review about that product, which typically does mean that if there's a video on this channel about a product that I've been sent, it's going to be positive. But that is because I like the product. And if it wasn't a positive video, I wouldn't make the video in the first place. So for smaller YouTube channels out there, you are going to start to get offered a lot of products. Please don't accept everything that gets offered to you. Try to focus in on the stuff that you actually niche in, or maybe products that you're already interested in purchasing in the first place. Because making YouTube videos is actually quite expensive, right? There's a lot of even the most successful videos on this channel. I've got a video that's got over 100,000 views about building a cinema rig for the Sony ZV-E10. That video cost me $500 to make, just to buy all the parts. So there's a lot of cost that goes into making YouTube videos. And if you can offset some of that cost by companies sending you products and they have no control over what you're going to say, I think that that's okay. You should make your viewer aware, right? Yes, they sent it to me for free. Make sure that you disclose that to the viewer. But if there's no expectation, there's no formal contract, and they aren't allowed to review it beforehand, you are entitled to say whatever you want. And obviously, it is then up to the creator. Are you going to pander to this company to try and make sure that they like you, or are you just going to give your honest thoughts? And hopefully, whichever YouTuber that you are a fan of following, hopefully you trust them. And if you trust them, then trust that their reviews are going to be fair. Now, on the flip side of that, something that often happens with product reviews, and this has actually been way more frequent recently than it was even a year ago since this drama has started, is sometimes companies are reaching out to me and saying, hey, we would love to send you this product as a sponsored video and your payment is the product. I don't accept those. I just say no to those. If there's a contract for a product for me to receive and review, but there is no monetary exchange, I typically say no to those, because that is basically me putting in a lot of work for a company and having to label it sponsored without any monetary value other than a product that might only be useful for that one video. And YouTube videos in and of themselves really don't make all that much money, especially at a channel of my size. So it would be nowhere near valuable enough for me to constitute that as a sponsored video. So that's typically how product exchanges work, right? Companies will say, I want to send you this product. Do you want it? Yes, I want it. Will you make a review? Maybe if I like the product, then yes, I will. That is typically how my dialogue goes with these companies. Half the time, they never even follow up afterwards to check to see how it went. Sometimes they do, but all of my experience in that, usually the person at the other end of the company has been very helpful and are just interested to see what I think about their product. Now, that was a bit of a ramble. let me move on to what sponsorships actually look like here on YouTube as well. Is that sponsorships typically do require contracts. You have to send them the video before it goes live that they can review it by a review team and make sure that it's in line with all of their stuff. And then if that gets approved, then you can go ahead and post your video and you get paid. And that paid part is very, very important. Most of the time, when companies reach out and send you a product, there is no offer of monetary exchange. There's no offer to say, hey, we'll give you this set of lenses and $2,000 in return for a sponsored video. Most of the time they just say, hey, here's some lenses, make a review, tell us what you think. But sometimes a company will reach out and say, hey, we would love for you to put a 2-minute sponsorship segment within your video. We'll pay you $1,000 for that sponsorship, and maybe you'll receive some commission as well on the other side of that if people sign up for the program or purchase the product. So whenever there's monetary exchange involved, then you're basically making an ad or a commercial. So some creators, they make entire videos which are just commercials, right? And they get paid to make that commercial. You as the viewer, you have the option to decide, okay, if this is a commercial, I don't want to watch it. I'm going to skip it like I do with all of these other commercials that pop up while I'm watching YouTube videos. You have the right to do that. Or sometimes if it's a product that you like, you might want to watch this commercial for that product. You just have to make that decision for yourself. My main thing would just be to say, just be respectful, right? So like, just because a sponsorship happens on YouTube doesn't mean that YouTuber is an invalid as a person. Now, it basically works the same way as in the corporate world, right? So I've had the chance to film a couple of commercials for companies here in Kentucky and Tennessee. And in that, it basically worked exactly the same way. Company reached out and said, hey, we'd love you to film on these locations, film these products, and in return, we'll give you X amount of money. So I did, and that was me getting paid to film a commercial. That commercial is now on YouTube. It's not on my channel, it's on somebody else's channel, but I was the one that made it. So it kind of works exactly the same way, except the difference would be I'm posting it on my channel and I'm putting my face behind it. Now, for me personally on this channel, I've only taken on 2 sponsorships, and they were pretty small. They were like a 1.5-minute segments within a video that actually had nothing to do with that product or program. And it worked just as I said. A company reached out and said, hey, we'd love to sponsor a segment in that video. Would you be interested? And I said yes, because I liked the product, I liked the program, or I was already using those things before I even got contacted by those companies. And just like the product reviews, I've been contacted by about 15 other sponsorship opportunities by companies recommending products that have absolutely nothing to do with camera gear. There was a company that reached out and offered me $500 to make a 2-minute sponsored segment about bracelets with skulls on them. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything to do with photography or videography? Nothing. So, sure, maybe I could have done something to do with, product photography or something like that, but it just had nothing to do. It had no interest to me. I didn't know the company. I didn't want the product. It just didn't line up with me at all. So I said no, and that happens all the time. You get offered these things. It's best to turn down the ones that have nothing to do with your content, in my opinion. But each content creator has to make that decision for themselves. Now, the good thing about sponsorships is, in the video, the person behind the camera, right? So if I'm doing a sponsorship segment in this video, which I'm not, I have to disclose that to you, and it will say paid promotion on the video. If it does not say that, or if the person doesn't say that, that means it's not sponsored by the standards of YouTube. So you just look out for those things. If you have a bias and you hate sponsored videos, whenever you see that, just click off. You don't have to watch it. That's okay. But I would just encourage you, don't hate on that creator just because they're trying to make a living here on YouTube. Most of the time, any content creators that I know or that I've watched who are making sponsored videos, they do so because they actually recommend the product. I don't know or watch anybody who just blatantly throws out stuff just to make money. Obviously, people have to make money, but most of the time that I've ever seen, people actually recommend the products that they're talking about. Lastly, let me tell you a little bit of a story that I had recently, and one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, and hopefully this is helpful to smaller creators as well, who are starting to get into this experience of getting sponsorships or being offered products. So a few months ago, I got offered a sponsorship for a video that was supposed to go in my video of my desk setup. And I was really excited about it because it was a company for a program. I'm not going to name this program, not because I don't want to out who it is or which company it is, but mainly because I don't want to out any other creators who got kind of screwed over in the same way, but the timing was a little bit worse for them. That'll make more sense here in a second. A company reached out to me and basically said, hey, we want you to include this sponsorship, a 2-minute sponsorship segment within your video to talk about this specific program in your video and recommend it to your viewers. You can do so in whatever way that you want. Here's some talking points. Here's all the B-roll clips that you can include. And they said, we're going to pay you $500 and we will give you $150 per person that signs up for a free account. And I was like, that sounds great. That sounds like a good deal, right? Because it's a free program. I liked the program, and $150 per person that signs up for a free program, that actually works great. And the nature of the program, that some of my employees over at our coffee shop, we were going to switch over to that, and then that was like 5-6 people already signed up. That would worked really well financially for me. Long story short, I make the video. I researched and learned the program. I put a lot of work into making this little segment of this sponsorship, making sure that I understood the program properly, articulated it well, and had all the B-roll, everything lined up, and talked with the brand back and forth, all this kind of stuff. Sent it to the brand. They liked the clip, and right before I was about to post it, I got an email from the ambassador of the brand saying, hey, by the way, we had to change the commission model. Instead of all of these other stuff, you're just going to get $50 per person that signs up. And I had to then wrestle with this idea of like, okay, now I have to think, I've put in all this work. Do I just accept this offer and do I just accept this new offer and now I get like a third of the payment, never mind the upfront costs? So I had to wrestle with that. Now part of my thinking was, well, I've already put in all the work, I may as well get some money for it. And then I realized that that's actually a really bad way of looking at this, because if they're happy enough to turn around to me and just sort of violate the contract and say, actually, we're just going to pay you a third of what we originally agreed upon, there is no guarantee that they aren't going to treat their future customers that I might be recommending to them, some of you guys, they might treat them the same way. This should be a free program. There's no guarantee they're not going to change that in the future. They're offering me now, they're only offering me 50. That could be 5 next week. I hope that makes sense. So I had to then realize this is just not something that I want to recommend anymore. I want to stick to my guns and I want to value the kind of product that I was making. And I chose to then just back out of the contract because it was no longer a company that I could trust, and therefore it was not a company that I would want to recommend to my viewers. Now that ended up costing me quite a bit of money, because in that video we did do a giveaway of a camera, right? So I was kind of relying on that income from that company to pay for that camera, but they did not, so I had to pay for that out of pocket. But I figured that it was better to back out of the contract and pay for it myself than to try to promote a product that I was no longer happy with because of the way that the brand had treated me, and that I didn't even trust anymore to viewers that I hope trust me. Now I use that little silly example just to try and encourage you guys. YouTubers are not money monsters. We're not all just in this for money, right? I really couldn't care less about money on this channel. It's a nice little bonus, but most of us, we just care about what we do. We care about you guys as the viewers. We want to recommend you guys products, and we want to have fun along the way. So when it comes to like me comparing these two cameras, which I enjoy both of these cameras, I love cameras, I love talking about cameras. And if I can make content about a camera like this, which I know a lot of my viewers want to see, and I can save myself $700 in the process by not having to buy it myself, I'm going to do that for the benefit of my viewers. Now again, DJI had no say in the video. They had no creative decisions. All they did was said, hey, would you like this product? There was no contract, there was nothing of the sort. It was just a nice friendly email back and forth with one of the representatives. So I hope that maybe answers some of your questions. If you disagree with all of this stuff, do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now to the smaller YouTube channels out there, as you're starting to grow, I would highly recommend don't accept every sponsorship that you get offered. And never accept their first offer. If someone offers you $100 for a sponsorship, value yourself a little bit higher than that, because it will take a lot of work to put together a good sponsorship in a video or put together anything like that. So I would highly recommend don't cheap out, value the kind of work that you put in, and don't undersell yourself. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying no to sponsorships, and there's nothing wrong with saying yes to sponsorships. You have to ask these questions yourself about the specific product or program that you're getting offered. Is it within the kind of content that you're wanting to make? And do you feel ethically good to recommend this to your viewers who trust you? If you don't make the video. If you do make the video and reap the rewards that come with the work that you're putting in. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, drop a like and maybe leave a comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts. Keep it civil in the comments down below. Obviously, we're talking about money and stuff like that, so people get way out of hand when it comes to money. I just recommend just have civil conversations in the comments down below. Maybe even subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.